summary of who I am and where I came from is I came from Airbnb back in 2013. I actually interviewed there in 2012. They said, thank you, but no, thank you. I stayed in touch and got a job 6 months later in finance, and I stayed there. I moved around a little bit. I did a lot of testing. I was a better host than maybe an accountant, you could say. I was always volunteering to work into other programs. They rolled out Superhost. They rolled out Instant Book when I was there. So it was a very interesting time. They started coming on the map when I was there. And then from there, I had a decision to make, continue accounting. I was a CPA or continue with Airbnb. So I continued with Airbnb like 110%. I started working for an Airbnb property management company. I started my own. I started traveling as an Airbnb guest. I wrote a book for Airbnb hosts, Optimize Your B&B. I then bought my own short-term rental. I managed, but I bought my own first one to my name in 2021 in Colombia. And then I just published my new book called Profitable Properties 2 months ago.
That's really cool. And I know you also mentioned that you published like book before. So for example, like what would be like the difference between like your newer one and older one? So like what should like hosts, like for example, which book should they buy, for example, at first?
They should. So the difference is the scope of information that I'm giving. Back in 2018, when I published my first book, and really I was writing it in 2017, it was easier to be a successful host. So you didn't really basically just open an Airbnb anywhere in the world and you'd be successful if you kind of knew what you were doing. If you knew some strategies, optimize your listing, optimize the hosting. A lot of people said from that book, they got all the tools like automated messaging, pricing, all these stuff, digital guidebooks. That was the biggest value from that book, introducing them to all those tools, which those tools are still around. Some of them are still around. Some of them are not still around. But that one was really about for Airbnb specific. So there's strategies in Optimize Your B&B. All those strategies are Airbnb specific, 100%. Some of them don't work outside Airbnb. Some of them do. Fast forward to Profitable Properties, and that teaches you how to run your Airbnb more like a business. So we zoom out. We look to the beginning. Okay, where's a profitable market, which is actually nowadays a big consideration, and it almost maybe the biggest consideration, because if you choose a profitable market, that just makes things easier for you as you continue. So we do that all the way through running the numbers and then optimizing, of course, the online listing, optimizing the hospitality. I have a new section about pricing. And then I talk about even booking direct, getting a website and trying to build a business outside of Airbnb, which I think is very important. This is a big difference. Back in Optimize Your B&B, I said, just focus on Airbnb, don't do anything else. 2023, I say, actually, you should at least have somewhat of a presence, probably not everyone, but probably offline. And I talk about kind of the efficient ways to do that.
And like, what do you think would be like the key challenge in like pursuing like direct bookings in your opinion?
The challenge of direct bookings is actually getting direct bookings. You could start a new business if you wanted, just going on direct bookings, going to social media, creating content. Most of us don't want to do that, including me. I don't want to do that. But what I do want to do is leverage the OTAs. I do want a direct booking website. That's the easy part. There's a lot of services that sell, hey, we'll sell a direct booking website, a very pretty looking direct booking website. That's the easy part. The hard part is getting bookings. And so how can we leverage the OTAs and do the bare minimums to kind of at least start on that process? And so the biggest difference or challenge is learning new systems. It could take a lot of time if you, because most people talk about direct bookings are like, yeah, get a website, get a booking engine, get on Instagram, go on forums every day, go 5 minutes on forums every day, respond, post, and it's way too much. It's like, whoa, it's way too much. So I would say just create a social media profile, create a simple website, and leverage your current network. I think I'm getting off top. I'm going more in depth about that, but direct booking for me has been in the forefront of my mind since I got my own property, because of various things that Airbnb specifically has done that's annoying, and because the biggest benefit for me in getting direct bookings, and what I want everyone to think about, is in addition to getting direct bookings, you're getting your guests' information. But guests who don't book come to your website, you're getting their email. Guests who do book, you're getting their information, you're creating a connection. As a business owner, optimize my Airbnb.com. As a business owner, iGMS, one of your most valuable assets, maybe your most valuable asset, is still your email list. That's incredibly valuable. So when I go to sell my property, if I have an email list of 5,000 and an Instagram of 5,000 and a website of 5,000 visitors a month, that has economic value. That's sellable. Someone would pay for that. So that's another big reason to start down the path of direct bookings.
And yeah, so like email lists like are like really big, like not only like for us, for like everyone as well in like direct booking world, as we see, because like it's like really cool. So you can like set up some promotions, for example, and like that. So selling basically anything that you can do. So email is a really good way as we see it as well. And I know, so mostly, so you are helping like hosts to like optimize their listings as well. Like, so what do you see like the most like common like mistakes that they make? For example, I know like you have like a lot of experience with like different types of hosts from different countries. So like, what is like the most common mistake that you see in their listing, for example?
The most common mistake by far is differentiation. And that is everything to do with what you actually have in your house. Do you have an amenity, a feature that's different than your competitor? If you don't, that's the wrong answer. You need one. There's no option. You need one, or you're just going to have kind of the average income, which no one's getting an Airbnb to do. So differentiation, and then as you come to the photos and the online listing, to differentiate your title, the text, the photos, everything needs to be differentiated, because on Airbnb, Airbnb wants to be like kind of like Starbucks of coffee. A coffee at Starbucks in Tbilisi, Georgia, where you're at, is exactly the same as a Starbucks coffee here in Philippines, where I'm at. That's what Airbnb kind of wants. They want all the standards to be the same, all the houses to provide the same stuff. And so online, it looks very similar. There's not so much you can do. So we need to leverage everything offline and online, even hospitality after the guest books, to differentiate ourselves as much as possible at every possible point.
Yeah, so I saw like a lot of hosts like that from our end. So we see like a lot of listings from our side as well. So we have noticed, personally, I have noticed actually after watching your videos that some of them like may look like a bit too similar together, even though they're in the competitive markets to each other. Yeah, so I know, so you are like big on like guest experience as well, like from your videos and everything. So like what would be like your like being tip or like tips as well, like about like exceptional like, guest experience, like receiving like positive reviews, like all of that basically.
Okay, I'll start with a story, because it's a mindset thing. It's not just like do this, do that. It's trying to change yourself into a different mindset, because a lot of Airbnb hosts are employees of one way or another, 9 to 5 kind of a job. And typically they're not doing marketing. They're not doing hospitality. I mean, I was an accountant. And so let me give you an example. This is a real life example. So you're an Airbnb host, a short-term rental host. You have a property, and your property is near the beach, and you want to provide. You notice that guests are asking, "Hey, do you have beach towels and chairs and stuff games we can play at the beach? It's family friendly." And so you realize, oh shoot, maybe I should buy this. It sounds like, or I should provide it some way. That's kind of like level 1. I break down a lot of stuff into level 3 levels. That's like level 1 is like not having it. Level 2 is like having it, renting it, something like that. But then level 3, here's level 3, which is the guest experience. Okay, so how much do these things cost? Cheap, pretty durable. The beach chair's not breaking that often. What's the value So we have cost. What's the value to the booking guest? How much value, not cost, but what's the value that they're assigning to you providing beach chairs and beach equipment, beach towels, beach games? It's probably high because it's a 2 or 3 day vacation. Now they don't have to look for something else. They don't have to go and drive somewhere. They don't have to do all this extra stuff. So what you can say, the level 3 host would buy this stuff and have it. And they would say, yeah, we'll rent it to you for some nominal fee, cheap fee. And then the guest arrives and you say, hey, here it is. And they're like, how much is it? And you're like, no, I'm going to include it on your reservation. It's included. That's guest experience. It's specifically what I call surprise and delight. So you've surprised these guests with there's no downside for you. There's only upside. With my apartment in Colombia, I used to offer airport transit. But then I realized if I offer airport transit, no one's really booking for that. That's a key. No one's booking for it, but they're going to expect it. So if I don't give it to them, it's going to be a negative. You promised us you didn't give it to me. If I give it to them, it's a neutral. You promised us you gave it to us. Good. Maybe I gave it to them, but they were late. Okay, that's a negative. So in this scenario, I can have a negative or maybe a neutral. Then I removed it. I didn't say that at all. And what I did instead is when they booked, I said, hey, I'm going to get you guys at airport, a ride free to the house. So now it's a neutral because I didn't promise it and they didn't know, or it's a positive. So I'm doing the same exact thing, but I moved it from a potential negative, a potential neutral to a negative, from a potential positive down to a neutral at minimum. So these are all guest experience things that you want to do. You want to make the guest's trip easier.
Yeah, I totally agree. So like personally, like if I would have been traveling, so those surprises like would have like left a positive impact like on my trip. And of course, like on the host, it's like a 5-star like review right there and there. So if it's like a surprise, like of course, like everyone's happy with it. Yeah, so actually, so do you think like I know you touched like a little bit on like a pricing as well. So like smart pricing, it's like a big debate in like hosting still, even though it's like been around for a long time. So like most of them like are debating if they should use it, if should they have not. So as we see on like our users list as well. So actually a lot of people are still not using it. So like what do you think? Like should they use it in the end?
It depends, but they're probably not maximizing their pricing.
Yeah.
And I would love for someone to come on and who's not using pricing and try and convince me otherwise, because I have a conversation with hosts all the time. And if they don't do pricing, what they do is they manually adjust. And that's okay if you have 1 or 2 listings, maybe 5 listings, but it's still not ideal even with 1 listing. So as soon as you get more than 10 listings, you're now devoting way too much time to pricing. Then they say, I know my market better than the pricing tools. Maybe true. Within a gap of 10%, maybe you're 10% better, but you're using your time, which is your most valuable asset. So you have to consider that. And oftentimes I notice that the pricing tools give you more money than you might have expected. So you might have charged $900, they'll charge 977 because always a random number with them. So that's what I notice as well. And these tools are so cheap. One booking like that, it's $20 a month and you've made it. So I recommend the tool Price Labs. I know I'm nearly certain iGMS has an integration with them.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of videos on my YouTube. In fact, a recent one about customizations. It's a little bit intimidating as well. I think a lot of people, maybe it's a new tool I have to learn. I'm unfamiliar with it. That might be coming into it as well. But pricing, I didn't know it was still a debate, to be honest. Pricing hands down is like kind of a must in 2023. Not a must because you can do it by yourself, but it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, actually it is still like a debate because like when like we have like demos and onboarding sessions with users, actually a lot of them are not using it. So like for example, like
Oh,
10, like 15 properties users may not be using it, but like someone who's like a bigger who has like 40, 50, 60, so they are always using it. And like also like our hosts like about like pricing tools, dynamic pricing, so whatever it is. So they are also saying that, for example, like we had like a workshop like a couple of months ago, and one of our hosts shared that, oh, like actually I got like the booking in double of price, in double of the price, which I like, didn't expect at all. Which like he was renting at $300 a night, and he got it at a $600 a night, which is like a major upgrade. And he wouldn't even set that price because he always thought like, oh, 300 would be like the maximum pricing that I can get for the night.
yeah. Yeah, that's another great point. It's you may have known the market 2 or 3 years ago, but are
Mm.
you really keeping up to date on how the market is shifting? Probably not, to be honest. That's double is I wonder how much money that particular host was missing out on over years, but that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, so then let me actually check. Um yeah, so about actually like yourself. So for example, like what additional like resources do you have? So I know that you have like a book and everything. So maybe like our like users want to know like how can they contact you? Like what like do you offer as well? So I think I would be interested in that.
Yeah. Well, I just released my first ever program, which is a study along with me program. It was kind of in conjunction with the book, Profitable Properties. And so we're covering a bunch of stuff there. And that if your folks want to make their way up to my website, optimizemyairbnb.com, they can find that there. We're about halfway through now. But otherwise, you can just search on Google, optimize my Airbnb, 3 words, and my Instagram will come up. There I do kind of just impromptu daily stories. The program I share kind of more intimate things, going more in depth. And then YouTube is for like tutorials, price labs, customizations, things like that. And then of course I have the blog.
Yeah, that's amazing actually. Uh, and I have actually like one more question. So so like, what do you think, and like from your experience, like, what is like there are like specific factors that play in the role of improving your ranking and Airbnb, and what do you think like, oh, what are like specific factors and like that can like optimize your search results on Airbnb? So
Yeah, if you go on Airbnb, the ranks are going to be like this. Rank number 1 makes Airbnb the most money. Rank number 2 makes Airbnb the second most money. That's how they're ranked. So how can I make Airbnb the most money? I can offer the guest a good experience. If the guest has a good experience, they're more likely to come back. They're more likely to tell their friends. So that's a review side of things.
Mhm.
Airbnb knows that if I don't charge optimally, that's better for the guest. That's why Airbnb smart pricing, which I don't recommend you use, is just kind of laughably known throughout the industry of charging really low rates, because Airbnb knows they actually make money if everyone lowers their prices. They make more money if everyone lowers their prices, but that's not in the host's best interest. So lowering your price is one of the it's kind of counterintuitive. You're making them less money on that individual reservation, but lowering your price is the biggest thing you can do. In fact, so it's the last thing we want to do, by the way. I have like kind of a troubleshooting, 3-step troubleshooting hierarchy. Pricing is the last thing we want to do, but it's the most effective. If you're having trouble, you lower your price, you're going to get bookings, period. To give you an extreme example of that, we just covered pricing in week 4 of my program. And later on, someone posted on the forum, like, whoa, I got like 12 bookings after following your advice. And I asked her, like, that's a lot. So I asked her what it was. And she said, yeah, I lowered my base price, which is an important metric in smart pricing. I lowered it from 300 to 100, which that's a giant change, like more than she should have done, to be honest. But that was like, okay, that makes sense. That's why you got like 3 bookings and 12 inquiries in like 48 hours, because you really lowered your price. So lowering your price is very easy to do. The last thing we want to do, but offering that guest a good experience. There's other kind of like like wish list saves. Airbnb is very quiet about their search ranking, even quieter than the infamous Google about their algorithm and how they rank listings, listings on the web. But one thing you could do is wish list saves. Airbnb has said, hey, more wish list saves affects your search rank positively. So every now and then you'll see someone on Facebook, but let's all post our listings and wish list save. That does actually help. How much, we're not exactly sure, not a tremendous amount, but it does help 100%. So if you get 100 wish list saves, that's going to increase your rank.
Actually, I didn't know about like wish list saves, so I need like a pricing and everything, but wish list is like a new thing for me. Yeah, I think we covered like everything mostly that I had like in my notes and everything. Maybe we can move on to like our like users and like guests questions.
Let's do it.
Yeah, actually, I see we only have like 2 questions right now, but maybe like other people like can like pull in the questions like as we go.
Okay.
So like first question actually that we have would be like, what do you think about like Google vacation rentals? So is it good? Is it not?
It has potential. Right now, it's not really that used. I have a Google. It's called Google My Business on like if you were to set it up yourself. So I have one, and that's one of the things if you do direct bookings, I do recommend you do. It's just easy. You might as well be there. I've had mine for a while. I've had a bunch of views, like I'm talking like tens of thousands of views on my Google My Business page, but not that many inquiries. So there's some disconnect there. They have the potential. They are Google. There's Google Flights, which is huge. So you have to be there. It's not going to net you too much right now.
Yeah, and actually, so it's like an up and coming thing as we see. So a lot of the hosts that like come to us like in like this couple of months are actually asking about Google Vacation Rentals, and that's something that we're planning to integrate in as well. I think that we should be integrating with them like in like 2 or 3 months maximum. That is like the thing that we have on our roadmap currently.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's kind of low hanging fruit. You might as well. They are Google.
Yeah. Then we have a question from Laura, and she's asking like, what is the downside of direct booking? How do you protect yourself as a host?
So her name was Laura. Laura's talking about like if the guest comes and ruins your house, which is something good to be thinking of. There are a bunch of services that can help you with that. So you have your own homeowner's insurance. If you don't, you might consider it. You might as at least reach out and ask about that. Airbnb does provide you, but being that it's free, I wouldn't, bet the house on it, pun intended. And so the downside, there's also some services that can help you vet the guest, but let me try and change your perspective and change your whole perspective on this, in that it's actually better to do direct bookings in this case. And the reason why is that you have more control over your reservation if you do direct booking. So you can collect a security deposit. And if the guest messes up, well, you keep that security deposit. Now, the guest knows on Airbnb that you have a review on the line. So on Airbnb, guests are actually less well behaved than if they have $500 of their own money on the line, because they know the guests are well aware of how friendly Airbnb is to guests. You can also, if you can also cancel the reservation at any time for any reason on your own website. The guest you're not comfortable with the guest for whatever reason. On Airbnb, you can't really do that. You can vet the guest. There are services where you can vet the guest prior to them coming to your home. Hey, give us your ID and this, and they'll vet them. You can have a guest sign a contract, which Airbnb you can do as well. But a lot of guests are like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not here to do that. But on direct booking, it's much easier. So I think a lot of the times doing direct bookings is gives the host more peace of mind than less.
Yeah, I totally agree. So actually we've seen that a lot of the hosts are switching to direct bookings, and we also added like some of the features on our end as well. Like you mentioned, like security deposits. So that on our side on direct bookings is taken care of. So you can set it up. You can like ask them, like send them the check-in form, make them sign rental agreements, make them upload their IDs, and you have like in one centralized space. So like we are like trying to support like direct bookings as much as possible. Also, as you mentioned, so like insurance. So we have like one of our partners like Safely. We integrate with them, and they actually are really good in that like terms of like insurance. So they add like a separate like small fee to each reservation, and they actually like vet the guests themselves, as I know. So you screen the guests like right there and there. Plus, we have like a like really big like insurance fund on their end as well if something happens, of course.
Yeah, and I'll just emphasize again, the majority of things that happen are small dollar amount things, 100, 200, $300, $500. So 99% of the issues are going to be are going to be easier for you to handle, because you have a script about it. You could, hey, you broke the lamp, I'm charging you $35 for the lamp. You don't have to go through anything else. So that's like 99% of things. So that just makes it incredibly easy. And I have one specific story, a particularly egregious story, that I document in Profitable Properties. I have a whole section dedicated to direct bookings, and I try and like put the host in my perspective and what I was feeling when he really took advantage of me and my staff. He stiffed them, he stole money from them, he stole money from me in terms of, using services and beverages and not paying for them. And it really made me sick to my stomach, but I couldn't do anything about it because it was on Airbnb.
Yeah, if it was like on direct booking, you would have like maybe like taken care of it like better if in the situation.
I would just keep a portion of the security deposit. Hey, you drank $105 worth of beverages. You gave my cleaner $11 because you thought that was fair. I'm going to keep $94.
Yeah, actually, as I know, Airbnb removed their secure deposit feature as well, right? So they had it, as I remember, like a year or a half ago, I think, but they then suddenly removed it for some reason.
Yeah, that's correct.
That is very strange. Then let's actually move on to the next question. As I see we have a question from Dina. So she's saying that I'm in a market that is not a destination. It's a pass-through town where we get a lot of one-night stays. Is optimizing for that different than a destination where people are spending longer periods of time?
Absolutely. Yeah, the optimization, there's a few. So the main put yourself in the FPG's shoes. If some of you don't know what that means, I use FPG to future potential guests. So put yourself in their shoes. If they're passing through for one day, do you need a gourmet kitchen? No, you probably don't even need a kitchen. So that's kind of a one thing. A working desk, like, do you need a whole working desk? Probably not. They're probably just looking for some place to sleep, a good night rest, quiet, a good shower, hot water, like a good shower could be a bonus thing for them. So what does the guest want? There's a few different, there's a lot of guest personas, but this is one, just passing through one day. A good example of that is like airport hotels. Like these are just one day. Where are they at? Where are they located? That's most important. Where are they located? Next to the airport. One day. No, it's typically no frills, space, comfortable bed though, quiet at night.
Yeah, actually, that is like a really good advice.
You could also just brainstorming here, wherever they're passing through from, maybe they're doing Route 66 in the US, and you could, to be an extra stellar host, you could create a guest itinerary and about their future. Like, these are your next stops, and these are kind of like, we've done this before, these are kind of things that I like. And so this is actually something that I do, and it's a service I sell as well, but anyone can create it. Just a nicely designed guest itinerary, and you just send it to them. Upon booking, you send it to them. It's like a surprise and delight feature. Hey, the great thing about it is you just let every guest know, you make it sound like you made it for them. So, hey, I just made this, I hope you like it. And then you send them, it's a one-page PDF, it's colored, and here's 3 or 4 destinations which you might like. That's kind of guest experience and helps with the reviews and all that too.
Yeah, that's actually a really cool idea. And actually, I haven't seen it like on my end anywhere, to be honest. But
no, you won't. You've never seen that. No one's ever seen that. That's my invention.
And it's really cool, actually. Then next up, we have question from Manuel. So recommend some upsell ideas for my listing.
Recommends, well,
it depends on the listing, I think.
Yeah, but well, I'll go with it anyways. Some upsell things for the listing. So I would actually caution maybe against that. Now, what are you in the business of doing? So if you have a $500 a night Airbnb and you're upselling on like beverages, let's say, and you're making 20 or you're charging, you know, an extra guest fee, and you're making $25 a stay for that. For me, the hosts that do this, it's never worth it. Or you're charging, you know, an extra early check-in or late checkout. You're making an extra $25 on $500 a night or on $2,000 reservation, whatever it is, even if you're making $100. It's like, what am I in the business of, and is it moving the needle? So if I'm charging whatever I'm upselling, make sure that it's something really valuable to the guest and the guest isn't going to be annoyed by it, because whatever I'm selling, I'm going to have to collect that money. That's time. I gotta have to replenish it. That's time. It's now an extra duty for the cleaner. That's time. So there's very few things that are upsellable, in my opinion. So again, what are you in the business of? You're in the business of renting your space. So you're making 2,000 on the space. You're selling an extra $100 on upsells, you know, per reservation, let's say on average. So that's an extra, what is that, 5%? So for me, it doesn't really move the needle, and it is not worth my time. That's what I have personally experienced. And I would even go further in that, let's say you have a pool. A lot of sometimes when you have a pool, you say, hey, we can heat it for this extra charge. And it's been my experience that most guests say yes to the pool heat because they're typically not making much money on the pool heat. It's just a break even. So my advice to these hosts was, one in particular, I had a consultation call. I said, I noticed that, and I said, okay, so you're charging extra for the pool. How many hosts do that? Guests do that? And she said, no, basically all of them want the pool heated. All right, so now you have to create another invoice to get more money. There's a whole new process you have to do because it's not bolted on. But if all of them do it anyways, why don't you not charge for it? Create it part of your system, so it's one less thing you have to manage, and then advertise that. So all of your competition, hey, we charge an extra $50 per day for the pool, this and that. Why don't you? I would put it in my title, hey, pool heating included, and see if that affects occupancy. That one little change could affect occupancy and make you more money.
Okay, then we have another question from Yusuf. So what do you suggest regarding building a renter's contract for every platform besides VRBO and Airbnb?
The renter's contract, meaning like the guest comes and you're having them sign a separate contract. That's legalese, and it's not really something I'm interested in talking about. Just go online and get a generic legalese contract and have your guest sign it if you want.
Yeah, so
unless there was a specific question.
Yeah, we also have it on our like help desk as well. So we do have like a sample of the rental agreement that like everyone can use. So you can also download it from there as well with no problem.
Yeah. Just make sure that it's legal in your state. Every lawyer is legal that they have a bar in each state. So it's possible that if you have a California contract, you're using it in New York. Maybe some parts aren't legal. I don't have guests sign extra contracts.
Yeah, so on our end, so for example, the people who are using a check-in form on iGMS, so they have like a generic, like not contract, but a rental agreement. So like you agree to this house rules and like that's it basically. And like all of the rules that they have set up there.
A check-in form could be very cool if it's used appropriately. I like the check-in form. But not if it's asking. So a check-in form can like help the guest experience, what we talked about earlier. Hey, are you coming to celebrate anything? Do you like this or that? So if you're using it to customize the guest experience, great. But if you're using it just to get information that they've already signed off and just to get them to do more signatures, that for me is kind of annoying. I understand the legal part of it, but check-in form can be utilized.
Yeah, from guest perspective, it may be like a bit lengthy because like, oh, I already gave you some details, like this are like how many guests we're staying, and then you're making me like filling all the information
Yeah.
once again about them.
Yeah. That's like put yourself in their shoes where like we've all called some customer service line, right? And then you type in your number, you type in your social security, you type in this, and then you get on there like, what's your name? So I already did that. What's your phone number? Oh, I did that. Oh, okay, I'm gonna send you a code to your number. It's like I did that. It's really annoying, at least for me.
Yeah, and I would totally understand the guest perspective about it, like the double information. So you like booking online, like or like directly to make everything easy at least. Or if you have like called the guest, like the host, and then you'll tell them like, oh, like all the information that you wish. And the part of like booking online is that it's like really easy to do. So you couple of clicks, you already booked your stay, and everything looks is good to go.
Yep, great.
Then we have a question from one of our attendees. So he's asking, I know this is like more geared towards Airbnb rankings, but do you have any tips for VRBO/homestay? Background, we have started to see a smaller number of bookings with VRBO as we've become more successful on Airbnb and direct bookings.
Yeah, the other difference of my new book, Profitable Properties, is it's not written for Airbnb. Airbnb is the market leader, but the information is broad. Most of the information is broadly applied. There's a few chapters where I say, hey, this is just for Airbnb. And in fact, part 8 is how to rank number 1. And I have 13 ranking factors in order on Airbnb. But I also say, look, these are really similar platforms. So whatever is ranking on Airbnb is going to be the same that's going to rank you on VRBO. There might be some subtleties. For example, VRBO doesn't have the wish list save. That's a difference. But differentiating yourself, giving the guest a good experience, making VRBO money, getting good reviews is going to be a differentiating factor. And I'll just say another thing about differentiating. Oftentimes you hear advice in general, common advice from Airbnb and other experts in the industry. They typically seem to recommend, specifically on photos, more photos. Hey, you need one photo of every angle of every room that's rentable. But you don't need that. You shouldn't have that because no guest is getting to the 55th photo. So you should have one of my overall arching principles is communicating the most information as quickly as possible. That's in as least photos as possible, as less text as possible, less character. Title's different. We want to maximize the title. But so in photos, you're going to have, if you have more than 25 photos in your listing, unless it's some giant mansion with, an indoor bowling alley and this and that, 25 photos is too many. And I know some of you on this call right now have 50, 60, 70, some, maybe even 80 photos. So we need to get below 25 photos.
Okay. Then actually the next question is about the photos. So how frequently do you recommend I change my listing photos?
I have a concept which is just called re-optimization. You want to optimize your listing, but then when you're struggling, it's part of my 3-step troubleshooting process. The first step, the easiest step, is just re-optimize your online listing. Just go on your online listing you haven't looked in a while, go in the back end of VRBO or Airbnb, make sure they haven't added any other amenities, any other sections, change around your title, change around your photos, change around your text. You're just going to read it and you're going to be like, oh, it's been 6 months. Yeah, these things are different. I want to highlight this more. And that's called a re-optimization. And that does trigger to the system to send you more inquiries, to send you more eyeballs. I do that personally 2 or 3 times a year, not that much. I don't do it just randomly. When I'm low on bookings or I have an upcoming gap, then one of the tools in my toolbox is go into my listing and just do a re-optimization. It takes 5 minutes. I have a blog post specifically on that, by the way. And I think that's a chapter in the book, but the blog post is free. You can search re-optimization and it'll give you maybe like 15 things that you can do. And I say like, you should do like 5 or 6 at least.
Okay. Then we have a question from Amanda. So she is saying that I'm too nervous to use discounts part of price labs because it shortens my minimum night stay to 1 night, and I don't want any 1 night bookings where these homes are located. How can I easily understand price labs dynamic pricing?
So she's saying she's scared about single night reservations. Okay. There is a few things you can do there. One of them, and I have a strategy that I will say at the end. That's very unique and allows you to have a 1-night minimum. But what you can do on Price Labs is you can do something, you can say 2-night minimum or 3-night, and then you can activate their orphan night customization, which means if you have a 3-night minimum, but you have a gap of 2 nights, no one can book that. Let's say Tuesday, Wednesday, no one can book that because you have a minimum of 3 nights. But you can go into Price Labs and say, hey, if their gap is just 2 nights, then make the minimum 2 nights for that gap only. Fine. Or 1 night. Then you can go in addition to that and say, hey, also raise my price by 25%. You can put a premium on that as well. You can also put a discount, but you have your option there. What I use personally is I go into Price Labs and I raise my base price. When I started this strategy, I raised my base price 20%. And then I went into Airbnb. This is an Airbnb specific strategy. I went into Airbnb and I put a weekly discount. I put a monthly discount, but of 20%. But then I also put a 2-night discount of 20%, a 3-night discount. You could add that on Airbnb, 4 or 5, 6-night discount of 20%. So what does that mean? Essentially, that means I have a 1-night minimum, but if you want to book for 1 night, you're going to pay me 20% more. So my listing rents out for about $500 a night. I'll take an extra $100 if you want a 1-night reservation. That makes it worth it for me. You could do 25%. You could do 30% if you want. So that way, and calendar availability is a ranking factor on Airbnb. So that way, I'm at a 1-night minimum. And by doing a 1-night minimum, the whole idea is widening your pool of FPGs. So if you have a 7-night minimum, your pool potential guests is lower. Only those people looking for 7 nights, 6 nights, 5 nights, 4 nights, all the way to 1 night. So we need to get creative about how can we keep a 1-night minimum. And this is one of those ways. So I just gave you 2 strategies. If you want more information on that, I have a video on, I think it's called Creative Discount. I have a video on that called Creative Discount, and the Price Labs customization video I've already referenced. You can just search, I have timestamps, search for orphan night discounts.
Yeah, actually, I have not. I have seen that the hosts mostly put the discounts lower their pricing in terms of orphan stays. But actually, I have not seen anyone doing upping their price in the orphan stays. What automation tools are you using to help manage long distance properties?
A human being. That's the best automation tool you can use. The only way that I'm successful in remote management is, yes, I do use tools, but probably the same as you. I'll get to them in a moment. But I have a human being on site or nearby that is available for emergencies. And there's always some kind of a things, but they also replenish stuff. They can pay your bills. They can attend small guest issues. They can coordinate maintenance. So that's a key. You need a person there. And in addition to that, I use the same things. I use automated messaging. iGMS provides that. I do pricing. You already know I use Price Labs. iGMS has an integration with them as well. I use a digital guidebook as well, which just helps the guest. It gets a guest experience thing. Very few hosts do it. It's a digital guidebook that gets, hey, you want to know how to work the jacuzzi? You don't have to ask for me and wait for my answer. I already have that typed up for you. Press these 2 buttons. Those are the 3 main things. Of course, I do digital locks, and I'm actually the house that I bought, they had this super fancy Google Home, Google Nest, whatever lock, and I could change it remotely. And they told me when the guests came and entered. It's just been a nightmare. I'm changing it out for something basic. And this is what I've been recommending since I started. And every now and then I'll manage a property and they want to get the coolest gadget that does all this. They're just headaches. All these crazy digital locks that have all these bells and whistles connected to the Wi-Fi, they're just headaches. So I just told my cleaner, hey, take it off, because another issue came up. Take it off, put on a basic one. That's all we need. Your risk is not your guests coming back to rob you. That's not your risk. Your risk is actually your maintenance, your cleaner, people who have access to your place.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people actually a lot of hosts from what I can see, so they're always asking about a Schlage locks. So that's what I have noticed, like most of them are using right now. So maybe they can also look into
Yeah,
it as well.
that's the one. I think that's the one. I have a link on my on a Google document. Whenever people ask me, I think that's the brand name. It's
Yeah,
just
it's Schlage and Code, I think, the name of like a specific lock. So that is like what we noticed that the most of the users use.
yeah, yeah. It's just got a code, and that's really all you need. You know,
Mhm.
you don't need to do all this extra fancy stuff. You really don't. It just creates headaches in my experience. If anyone has one of these locks that it hasn't created issues, please let us know.
Then we have next question. And does snoozing your listing and bringing it back help get you like see online? So does it help you get in the ranking as I got it?
That's a ranking strategy that has been making its rounds, and I have seen somewhat success for that. I think it probably came from back in the day when Airbnb was just started and cities were trying to crack down on them. A lot of tools, iGMS may have introduced this as well, would say, hey, we'll automatically snooze your listing for certain hours. Let's say, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. when government employees are working, and then we'll undo it. So I think it has its origins there back 10 years ago. I'm unsure how successful it is. To be honest, I have seen some success. I'm not sure if I attribute it there or something else, but it's something. It's a tool in your toolbox that you can use. And for anyone who's not aware, on Airbnb, I'm sure on VRBO and Booking.com as well. Or I know Booking.com can. I'm just starting my VRBO listing. You can snooze your listing, put it offline for a day, a year, whatever you want. But if you have low rankings, you can snooze your listing for as long as you can, a few days at least. And that triggers some kind of warning in the algorithm that says, hey, we need to get this guy bookings.
Yeah, on our end, actually, we do still have it. It's called like a stealth mode. And basically what you do is like you have like all the days of the week and you choose like for how many hours or like minutes a day you want your listing to be snoozed, and it's automatically snoozes it and unsnoozes it. And actually a lot of our users are using it. Even
Yeah.
like our like main host, like a bigger like host to have like 100, 200 properties, they're still using it.
Yeah. Another strategy for that is I'm not a fan of having two multiple listings in the same market. I think that's confusing. But if you do this, there's some kind of your own strategies. It's hard to A/B test on Airbnb, but what you can do is you can A/B test like this: create two listings and snooze them alternately, and see which one is getting more traction.
Oh yeah, actually.
Hey, can I share my screen? I want to share
Yeah, of course.
so I'm going to share that itinerary that I create. So this is what I send to all of my guests in Medellin. Now I have it 7 days. I have a few versions. So I have a 2-night version, a 3-night version, a 4, 5, 6-night version. So it's even more customized to them. So they book a 2-night. I make it once. I made it a year and a half ago. I get a 2-night, a 3-night, a 4-night. I send them that relevant. Hey, I made this for you. It's a 4-night, it's a 4-night itinerary for your 4-night stay. I just think it's cool. I don't know. It's like,
No,
I
it's
just made
really
it
cool.
once. Yeah, I made it once and I sent it for everyone. It's like, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So it's this Medellin itinerary, and I'm familiar with the area. I'm helping the guest have a better experience, and the experience the guest has in your city does affect your review. So there's various things I do for that, but this is one of them that I make. So it's so I think I have 7 recommendations, picture, a brief description, best time to do it, best nighttime experience, yeah, and then how far. I'm adding in some branding, how far from Belmonte Penthouse. And then down here, got some more branding. I got like a cool local tip: on Sundays they close the road until 1 p.m. And then best local coffee shop, best restaurant, best hike. And these are all like not super common things. So it's not like someone can go on Google and they're gonna find the best hike, the best restaurant. They're not. Kuan is not the most popular restaurant in the city. And then just kind of some things that they're famous for. So anyways, this is what I send to almost every guest as much as I can remember. And some of them don't care, don't say anything. Some of them are like, oh, cool, great. So it's like a neutral to a positive kind of a thing. And that's what we're trying to look to do.
Yeah, it looks actually really cool. And I think like guests should like it actually.
Yeah. Like I said, some of them
Mm-hmm.
don't care. I think, some of them are just coming to like straight up party and they don't care about hikes or anything
Yeah.
like that. So it's not as useful to them. But some of them are like, oh yeah, great. This is actually, some of them are like, the benefit it gives me and the value they receive is much higher. That differential we talked about is much higher than what it cost me. It cost me, I don't know what I paid for it 2.5 years ago, and I'm still using it today. So the incremental cost is like 50 cents per
Mm-hmm.
reservation, 25 cents per reservation. So it's ideal. Level 3 hosting activity. Go to my YouTube and type in maybe levels of Airbnb hosts, something like that. And I have a video. It's a long time ago. Actually, I recorded it in Hong Kong. So excuse me, I'm kind of awkward in the video, but the concept is still very valid. It's all about mindset, changing your mindset. And I put hosts into 3 categories. And if you can be that level 3 host, you're going to be successful. And I talk about how to shift your mindset a little bit. It's like a 6-minute video.
Okay, actually, then we have another question. So, Daniel, I'm a bit older and haven't gotten into the whole social media thing. If this seems to be so important, what platform would you choose if you could only pick one?
It's good question. It depends where your FPGs are at. So if you have if the social media, Instagram would be the kind of the generic default, and probably that's your best option. Because okay, let me clarify. You're not starting, pay attention, this is a big clarification point. You're not starting a social media account to get people from that social media account. That's the social media account you're driving guests to from your listing, for example, or whatever activities you're doing. You're driving people to the social media account rather than to your Airbnb account. It's not like you're going to be, advertising your social media account, and you could be spending 40 hours a week posting 2 pieces of content every day, coordinating all this stuff. You could be doing that, but that's not an efficient strategy. So the reason why you're doing a social media platform is it's very easy to start up, and it gives the guest a way to contact you outside of the OTAs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I noticed like when we had like last workshop, so a lot of like hosts actually started using like social media, mostly as one of our like fellow hosts had the like glamping like cabins. And actually, I know like he's really doing really good on Facebook. So I think it depends on like what type of listing you have exactly, and like what type is like your customer base at.
Yep. I'm going to just post in a link to my
Mm-hmm.
Instagram here. If it's nothing that special. Social media, especially Instagram, it's visual. So on social media, you'd want to highlight experiences. What experiences can the guest get? So there's different things you would highlight. So I think I have some, like I'm picturing some artwork in my house on the social media. On Airbnb, that would be a bad photo, just a photo of a piece of artwork. That'd be a bad
Mm-hmm.
photo. You want to show rooms. So there's a different strategy there as well. But I try and post a picture a month. I just got renewed my Superhost on Airbnb, so I posted that to there as a story. So I don't spend that much time. That's like a big factor in direct bookings. Okay, if you don't have a reason to get direct bookings, then don't do it. If you want to be convinced, then you could read that relevant chapter in my book. I do think it is a good idea, but don't like force yourself into doing it, and don't go spend $1,000 on some social media brand strategist and website and all this. Just dip your toes in, create an Instagram account, create a Facebook profile, create a Google My Business, maybe 2 hours tops, and just dip your toes in.
Okay, then we have next question is what are the best recommendations to help collect emails, create lists, and send out text and or email promotions?
Well, one of those ways is the check-in form that iGMS offers. So you get a guest from Airbnb, you send them this link, they type in their email there. Another way is services which you can connect to your Wi-Fi. When you go to a cafe and they say, hey, enter your email and connect, there are services that do that. Hey, enter your email, enter your phone number, and connect to our Wi-Fi for the duration of your stay. They do it once, and that's that. The benefit there is you get all of their guests as well. So if you have a house who has guests coming over, you allow guests, you would get not only the booking guest, but also all of their guests in the party and any visitors that they bring over while they're at their stay. Another way you can do it is making them aware of your social media. So you can, I have cards that I put around the listing. I have a few branded items so they can follow me. They know they can follow me there. I make it a point, hey, if you're going to create some content, tag me. So there's those 3 strategies that you can use.
Okay. And then we have another question. So if you differentiate your listing from others, so I'm in Orlando, I am one of 10,000 plus listings. How else can you quickly climb the search result rankings?
Oh, great question. I'm going to all the rooms right now to type in, you said Orlando?
Mm-hmm.
Do a little research while I talk about this. So, so the really interesting thing about OTAs is that you can create a listing in 30 minutes, and you can rank number 1 on that search engine, which an OTA is a search engine. So compare that to Google, for example, and you need months, maybe years, and maybe after years, you will never rank number 1 on Google. So, and on Airbnb specifically, you get a boost. You get a short term. It depends. It could be a week, could be a month, could be just a few days. You get a boost as a new listing. So the answer is right away, just immediately, which is really interesting. And I know that there are some rank tracking tools that have become popular. I'm noticing I went free diving this weekend and I got a really bad burn. Now it's finally turning into somewhat of a tan, but I was really stupid for doing that. It was, anyways. I had a bad night's sleep the past few nights. So there's these ranking tools. They've become popular, but I want you to think twice about spending money and time there, because you can't know your rank. You cannot know your rank. It's unknowable. And the reason why, whereas on Google, you can know your rank. Type in right now, anyone who wants to test this, type in whatever browser you're at, wherever location you're at in the world, type in optimize my Airbnb. And the first 4 websites will probably be my main website, my book website, my YouTube, and my Instagram. So on for your ranking on Airbnb or whatever, you would need to know, okay, what do I rank for these dates in the future, single dates, for these pair of dates? Where are we at? July 13th to 15th, July 15th to 17th, and then 3 days, and then 4 days. And then what do I rank for 1 guest? What do I rank for 2 guests? Whatever, how many guests you have, 5, 6. Okay, what do I rank for these pair of 2 dates for 6 guests, pair of 2 dates for 5 guests? And then on addition to that, we have listings getting booked and listings coming online pretty frequently, depending on the lead time. So your rank is not really knowable. What I focus on is occupancy. That's a known number. And based on that occupancy, we can change our prices. That goes into the pricing strategy. But so I think I answered your question. How fast can you rank number 1? Right away, as soon as you put your listing up. Now, if you have bad reviews and your pricing is out of whack and all this, then you need to fix all that stuff and you can come up. There's the great thing about Airbnb. The really great thing is you can rank number 1. You can be an individual host on Google. To rank number 1 for Airbnb, let's say, you're going to be Airbnb.com. They're spending millions of dollars and they're getting millions of views. You cannot outrank them. On Airbnb, an individual host with 1 listing can rank number one, or I'm using that generally, can rank very high and have a high occupancy and a high rate all year round, that's kind of really cool, actually.
Okay. Then actually we have another question. It's from Fiona, and she said, I have a direct booking site and I use multiple different booking channels. I use price labs. In iGMS, I increase my price 15 to 20% for booking sites above my direct booking website. Do you suggest that this is a good to go? And do you think it is good to go into Airbnb or booking.com and use their promotions? So for example, mobile discount, last minute discount, etc.
Can you read that question again? There was a few parts to it. I want to make sure I got it all.
Yeah, so actually Fiona is increasing pricing per channel, and if she's asking if this is a good thing to do, and if do you think it's good to go into Airbnb or booking.com and use their promotions like mobile discount, last minute, and so on.
Got it. Yeah, that's a fine strategy. I know a lot of people do that. They just they automatically, hey, increase my price 20% on booking.com. And that's fine. Additionally, if you have a direct booking website and you want to drive people there, then you need to make that known on all of your social media platforms. On the OTAs, there's a little bit of a gray area saying, hey, book direct for best price, a little bit of a gray area there. But on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, hey, book direct for best price, and you can give a promotion. Put Facebook. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Put Facebook as the code on my direct booking website upon checkout for 25% off, 25% discount. So that's the one side. The other side is discounts on Airbnb, and that I don't use them because I know that the biggest benefit or perceived benefit is, hey, they're going to put me in their emails and promote me to people. Maybe, but I don't see that moving the needle. And if you're a good list, who are they putting in the best listings? So if you're the best listing anyways, do you need the promotions? I get it that on Airbnb, you're going to see like a promotion discount, an extra discount, and Airbnb sees that discount. So it's a tool in your toolbox that you can use. I don't, because I haven't drawn the direct connection to enough of a benefit to use that, to go outside of my system and use that specifically on Airbnb. So that's my response there.
Okay. Yeah, so we have a couple more questions. So we have one from Laura. So thank you so much. I'm literally 3 weeks into my first listing. Appreciate all the advice and input. What would be the number one recommendation you would give to a new host?
The number one recommendation I would give to a new host would be, if they haven't purchased a property yet, it would be take your time on evaluating where you're going to buy your property. And I break things down into discovered and undiscovered markets. So I'm going to focus on this because if you get the market right, everything else is kind of easy. If you get the market wrong, everything's hard. So if you haven't bought a place yet, do your market research. And I have a whole part 2 after the introduction. Part 2 is vacation rental market analysis. And I break markets down into discovered and undiscovered, and those have their own pluses and minuses. Undiscovered is my preference. And then once we discover our market, we want to break the market down into micro neighborhoods, which is micro neighborhood is a market, is a different type of a market. So there are some micro neighborhoods in markets that are more profitable than others. All markets, that's true. There's some micro neighborhoods that are more profitable than others. And then in addition to that, then we analyze the size of the homes. So 4 bedrooms, 4-bedroom, 4-bath might be more profitable, much more profitable than 1-bedroom, 1-bath. If your budget only allows that, that's fine. But if your budget allows, if you're going to spend twice as much on a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, but you're going to make 3 times as much, then from a financial perspective, that just makes sense. You have your confidence interval onto, how confident are you that that's going to come to reality. But there are ways to get your confidence up quite high. And that's what I would say. If you already have your listing, then go back to it and differentiate yourself. in any way. If you have a basic listing, paint a wall green, if that makes sense. I mean, if that looks visually good, paint a wall green. That's like an easy thing to do. Put some artwork up, differentiate yourself as much as possible. Start with one thing, then go to 2, go to 3. That's your online listing and your actual physical space and your hospitality.
Okay.
So I have Orlando up here. I'm just going to share my screen and we can
yeah, of course.
just quickly look at this. So I've been using all the rooms recently because I am looking in the US right now. And part of my program is you get access to my vacation rental market analysis global. But right now I'm focusing on the US because that's where I am looking to buy my next property. So it looks like Orlando, Florida, we've got, so the supply is less than 10,000, much less than 10,000. And just have a quick look. Entire home, 81% interesting. So there's a lot of private rooms. So a tip for everyone is if you go to these tools and you see that entire home is like 99% and private room is like 1%, that could represent an opportunity. If you have a 2, 3, 4 bedroom home, if you turn those rooms into bedrooms, because that market is so underserved and because Airbnb is pushing that private rooms right now, that's their big differentiator, that could net you more money. You have to deal with 4 guests or, more guests as well, but that's something to consider. Anyways, I just wanted to have a look at this.
Yeah, actually, it gives like a really cool like insights about all the analytics.
Yeah, and I'm working directly with their team. They're very open to feedback, so I'm working directly with them, giving them my feedback and feedback from my community. So that's kind of cool. Whereas, AirDNA is good, but very stringent. They're really not. They're such a big company. They're not really open to feedback. It's either there or it's not, or maybe they'll do it on there. But all the rooms is like, oh, you want this? Yeah, we can get this. It's easy. We'll do it in a week. We'll add it to our roadmap for next quarter. So that's is ongoing feedback with the program participants, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, like that you can submit something to a software or like company and they can like take care of it right away.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a couple of more questions, and one of them is how to determine a good security deposit to charge.
Oh yeah, good question. So this host is talking about direct bookings on Airbnb. There is no longer a security deposit. I'm not sure if that's true on VRBO or Booking. For direct bookings, I charge $500. So for me, charge as much as you can get away with, because the more you charge, the guest is going to be on better behavior. I very specifically remember it may have been my first booking. I was in Santa Barbara, California. I was booking for my friends and I booked a larger house. I don't know, we had 4 or 5 bedrooms, not sure. And I was reading the listing and it said like $1,500 security deposit, which was like really big. And it basically made it sound like I was scared about this. It made it sound like and I was booking as a guest on Airbnb. If anything goes wrong, you're going to lose the security deposit. So when I checked out, I was like cleaning the house because I was like, I don't want to lose $1,500. So I didn't know at the time that, Airbnb was very guest friendly. And that's so, it's so as much as you can get away with. Typically it would be at least like one night. So even if you're yeah, typically one night. It depends. I charge $500 for mine, where my typical damage would be like $50. So I'm charging 10 times more a typical damage might be. There's no real number there.
On iGMS, you can't have like setting if like we have like 3 types of settings. So you can charge a flat fee, a percentage of the booking amount, or the third setting that we have is like a flat or a percentage. So whichever would be like the higher amount, so you will charge guests that.
Yep. And is that a charge on their credit card, or are you actually collecting that money?
No, it's like a charge that goes through Stripe, and then after like release date, it does like everything automatically for you. So you can like you don't even notice like if of course if something happens, you don't even notice like how the security deposit goes in and goes out.
Yeah. So that's fine. That's for the guest. That's maybe ideal because they're getting a pre-authorization on the credit card, so they don't see anything going out. I actually collect physically or digitally $500. Either way is fine though.
Yeah, actually, we have one more question. So I get booked every weekend, but I have most weekdays vacant. What are some suggestions to get my midweek days booked? I discount them half of the price of the weekend and have 2 days stay because we have big houses and cleaning and linen costs us $500 a turn. So charge $1,000 for 2 midweek days.
$500? That doesn't seem to be true. Unless you have like a 10-bedroom house, $500 to do linens and cleaning every day. That seems like a lot. But assuming that's true, yeah, those are whatever your numbers are. There could be two things at play here. Number one is you could just have low demand weekdays, and there is a customization in Price Labs and all smart pricing tools where you can lower, you can say whatever your weekdays are. Let's say they're Sunday to Thursday. I want to lower Sunday to Thursday 20% and see how that works. The other thing that could be happening is if your occupancy, it's a little hard to discuss pricing because you have to know my strategy, which is very efficient and excellent. But if you don't know my strategy, I'm not sure how much this will communicate. But the other thing that could be happening is if your occupancy is good at your booking lead time, which is the average time the guest is booking in advance. If your booking lead time is 30 days, if your occupancy is like 50% at that 30 days, which is within target consistently, then what could be happening is simply you're not lowering your price enough. So the demand dips as the days go in. So what we want to do is add a last minute discount starting at that booking lead time, 30 days, and then a gradual discount. So at 30 days, maybe a 2% discount. At 29 days, 4%, 6%. So the goal there would be lowering a little bit more, a little bit sooner, a few percentage points more, a few days before your competition to counteract that lower demand.
Yeah, that's actually a really great strategy to use. And it must be a pretty big house for $500 a turn of key.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Can they break down what does that $500 work out to? I'm guessing it's a big house, and I'm guessing they're going to say like $350 for the cleaning. But like even that, $150 for laundry, linens turnover. I'm curious if they can break down what that $500 is for. I'd be very curious. That's an outlier for sure.
Yeah, it's like a pretty big number, like for only like one turn. So then we have next question, and any amenities that will help me to get on the page one.
Oh, but I would also, with that last question, I would still do, I think she said it was 2-night minimum. I would still do 1 night because I would guess that all of your competition also does 2 nights. So you charge $500 a night, fine. But what if there's demand for 1 night? No one's renting 1 night. What if, maybe someone would pay $750 for 1 night? Was that $250 extra? Probably. But if at all possible, I would think outside the box a little bit and see how can you charge 1 night, especially in your situation. I've heard the scenario before. Probably no one has 1 night reservation, and probably the demand is bigger than the supply. So you would net some profit there. Amenities that get you on the first page, that is market dependent as well. But there's no. So Airbnb, it comes from the guests. So Airbnb would look at the guest behavior and the individual get. Oh, that's another reason why. I have to going back to how you cannot know your rank. In my program, and I think it was class 5, we ran a little experiment. I covered this subject about how Google is different than Airbnb and ranking and views and conversion. And I had everyone, different places around the world. I think 6 people in total submitted their screenshots to me. We all went to Airbnb. We went to a city, and we had made sure the dates were correct and this and that, and we screenshotted. Now, I always knew that the rankings were different, but what I didn't know was how different they were. From all 6 people, they were incredibly different. Like, I was shocked. There was like 1 listing that was similar in like 3 of the screenshots. Some of us had private rooms. Some of us had no private rooms. It was just so different that you cannot know your search rank, period. So I'm saying that because I want you to spend your time on what you have control over, which is occupancy. So amenities that may be useful. It depends on what the guest. So if there's a particular market where a lot of homes are getting booked up with jacuzzis, then that would be in that particular market. That would be more likely to get you on first page because Airbnb is like, remember who's ranking number one? Whoever's making Airbnb the most money. So that would be more likely to get on page one because they know that a place with a jacuzzi is making us more money.
Yeah, actually, we have like answer from the last question. So my cleaning is 275 plus 10% GST, and linen for 10 beds is 225 to 249. We have 6 bedrooms, 10 beds, luxury 2-story kennel houses.
Okay, now I want that person to break down the $249 per turnover for the linens. How is that possible? Because I'm just thinking like energy cost, right?
Yeah, actually, it's like a pretty big number still, I think.
Yeah, I can't imagine you're like doing new linens every time. That's kind of the cost that it would be. $250 per new linens. So tell us what that 240, I think you said, for just the linens breaks down into while we answer another question here.
Yeah, so the next one is, so did you explore midterm bookings before? For example, like 3 weeks to 6 months? If yes, like what is the best way to get into it?
On Airbnb, midterm is 2 and 3 weeks. There is an MTR industry, medium term rentals, that is multiple months. So there's confusion there because on Airbnb, long term is 28 nights. Okay, so we're talking about if we're in the short term world, medium term is 2 or 3 weeks. If we're in the general rental space world, MTRs are months long. Okay. I don't do MTRs for the months. That's actually a whole different strategy, and more so direct bookings. And actually something interesting that if you're interested in, just know that there's a whole industry there that you can be interested in. If I can remember her name. She's like this famous girl. She's been on Netflix. I went on her show one time. Shoot. I was just going to give it as a resource for those interested, but I can't remember. Darn. You can reach out to me privately on Instagram or something, and I'll get you that if you're interested. The shorter you go, the more money you make in general. So I am in the short term, the STR space. So I go for single night minimums, 2 or 3 nights, whatever it is. But that's what I do. MTR has his own strategies. I'm not super familiar with them, but they are effective and they seem to be very effective. It's like kind of a network based thing where you're connecting with folks in your area. And so even if you have 1 listing or 10, it doesn't matter because MTR, you're working more so with professional businesses, whatever that, schools, churches, medical facilities. So you're getting on their list for people coming in, doctors or clergy or whatever, people coming in for multiple months, traveling nurses. And so they typically want to work with a network. You can't just approach some big school, Harvard, and say, "Hey, I have a listing here. Can I get on your preferred?" Yeah, maybe, but they want to know that they're not going to waste their time. Oh, you're booked at this time. Okay, they want to have like a network. Anyways, that's a separate strategy I'm not super expert on. In terms of monthly bookings or weekly bookings, that also is market dependent. So for my specific situation, I thought that I wanted weekly bookings because I know where I'm at. It's the party risk is heavy. So I thought, all right, I'm going to give a discount higher than my competition for weekly stays and monthly stays. The monthly stay I got is actually a really weird story I have about that, where I dreamed a monthly stay and I woke up to a monthly reservation. I woke up 3 times and on the 3rd time it was very, very strange. And it's the only monthly reservation I ever had. And I really wanted it, especially at this specific time. But anyways, that was a great stay. I made less money. I made 50 to 100% less. So but it was a really easy stay. He had no problems. The weekly stay was terrible. It was basically just a week-long party. They brought friends over. They brought like pets over. That was terrible. So I realized, okay, I have demand. I'm in this to make money. I can make the most money by single night reservations, 2 or 3 night reservations. The weekly didn't bring me less parties, brought me just equal party for a week long. So for that reason, in my market, I don't need weekly reservations. So I don't give any discount for weekly or monthly reservations.
Yeah, actually, I personally had like so my mother is like hosting as well. So in Tbilisi, so she has a couple of apartments here, and one of the apartments actually, so when like we listed it on Airbnb, so it started like even though like we had like 2-night minimum, 3-night minimum, so it started like going like long term. So every booking that we had from starting from December, the day that we listed on, it was like a month long minimum bookings. And then it's like winter time, which is like actually like really crazy for Tbilisi because like winter time is like the slowest season that they can be here. So the whole winter time was booked for like 30 days, like 42 months even. And now in the summer, it started switching to like short-term ones, so like week long, like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days maybe. And then in the September, it's still switching to the long term. So I think, yeah, it's like really strange.
Yeah.
But it depends because it's like a 3-bedroom house as well. So maybe it depends on the property as well, like which one will do the long term and like which like will do the short term.
Yeah. But yours, that's true, but yours is so varied. I was going to say it could be the micro neighborhood. Some are long. It could be the size of the home. Those are both things we discussed with vacation to property analysis. But yours is so varied. Sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. I was going to say maybe I stayed with your mother. I stayed with the good host, but the property I stayed in Tbilisi was not a 3-bedroom. It was 2-bedroom, and it was near that McDonald's in like the really popular area.
Near the Holiday Inn.
What's the popular street there called, or the popular neighborhood?
Vake?
No. It's been 4 years at this point. I forget.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like McDonald's that we opened. Oh, actually, maybe it's like Armashena Street. It's like a roundabout with a McDonald's in it.
Oh yeah, it was a roundabout street.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I stayed walking distance from there.
Actually, that is like one of the up and coming neighborhoods here. So the prices rose up like maybe like triple the amount of time that it was like last year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was an up and coming neighborhood. Interesting. It looked so. The cool thing about Tbilisi was, as I recall, it was like it was clean. It was a clean city, which coming from a big U.S. city, sometimes it's not so clean. So I was pleasantly surprised about that.
Yeah, it can be cleaner, of course, but it's still like really nice. So everything is taken care of.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm misremembering. My memories are that it was clean.
Yeah, so therefore, like for example, like my example in the part of the apartment is really strange. So like we like accommodate like short-term and like long-term bookings as well, like with no problems. Actually, like my mother personally likes long-term bookings because like she doesn't have to take like care of the cleaning staff like a lot of the times, and it's like really easy for her to manage. So linens and everything, she just like leaves them like like 4 changes of linen. Of course, if they want like someone to come in the middle, so like she facilitates that with no problem as well. But most of the time, it's like really hassle free for her in terms of like a long-term booking than the short-term one.
Yeah, this is where I stayed in Tbilisi.
Oh, that is a Vera. That is actually the the next property that my mother bought for an investment.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, that is actually like really cool neighborhood as well.
Yeah, I thought it was walkable, and I was happy with where I stayed. Trying to show the. Oh, here we go. There's the actual listing. Oh wow, 208 reviews, 4.94. I did good. I may have given this host a recommendation for there in the heart of Tbilisi. There she is. Yep. Oh, she's not following my. Oh, don't do this, hosts on Airbnb. Don't do this. Don't. No one uses this, and it just takes up the most valuable real estate. And most importantly, if you assign what I'm looking at here is this host has assigned photos to rooms. You lose control of your photo layout, which is very important. Don't do this. She has a floor plan, which is nice. I sell floor plans on my website, but if you could buy it from me or you could create it yourself, really beautiful floor plan. She's got a good amount of photos here. I want to see that floor plan. Actually, floor plan is nice because it sets the guest expectations. This is okay. It's fine. The floor plan that I have is like color coordinated to the house, but this is definitely better than nothing. It gives a good layout. Okay, there's there's 2 bedrooms.
Yeah,
There's
this
the
is like a
kitchen, yeah.
standard like a floor plan that you can get in like a public registry in like here in Georgia, actually, when they like
Oh,
do the
interesting.
floor plans.
Okay, interesting. See if my review is still up here. Probably not 200.
Actually, that is like a really good amount of reviews.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, there's my review. So what did I say? So this is how I do my review. 5 stars, 7 nights. The cons, super slow Wi-Fi, and the kitchen was just adequate, which is typical for most Airbnbs. A lot of kitchen equipment is missing. Daniel, thanks for the 5 stars. Oh, she already followed. Oh, great response there too. Change providers. Wow, perfect response. Okay. Well, that's where I stayed in Tbilisi. I'll have to go back and visit one of these days.
Okay, yeah. So we covered like long-term and like short-term rentals. Yeah, actually, this is like a interesting question, I think. Majority of the rentals in our area come from Airbnb. We aren't happy with the overall Airbnb experience / host protection. So how do you recommend we steer guests towards VRBO or direct booking?
There's a lot of ways, but I might share one with you now. Let me see if it still appears. Okay. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. So that the best way, if you want direct bookings, you're not happy with Airbnb, and that's kind of the reason why a lot of hosts do it. They're not happy with Airbnb. The guest gave them a bad review. They couldn't get a secure deposit, this and that. And they're like, okay, well, if I get direct bookings, I don't care if the guest originated on Airbnb, but if I can get them to book direct, I have a lot more protection as a host, which is counterintuitive, but that's true. So what you can do is you can say on your Airbnb, there's levels of how intense you want to go. So you can say, check us out online for reviews. I'll show you my listing. So the most efficient way you can do is just leverage the OTAs, leverage the existing OTAs to let them know, hey, you have a presence online. This is your brand name. So I'll share my screen and I have my listing up. And I'm going to show you, I'm still testing this out. I don't know how useful it will be, but you see this? Can everyone see that? So it's not a clickable URL, but I am in, this is a category feature. So if you go to your categories in your backend, you can do this. So I'm testing that out. But apart from that, I have, savvy guests. They know that this is a brand name. Sounds like a brand name. Down here, I have, I'm not saying Instagram, but savvy guests will know that's where my Instagram is at. And I'm not pushing them as well. When they book for me, I'm not pushing them. I'm not, messaging them and saying, hey, I want you to book direct, this and that. There are some strategies, some not advanced strategies, but like some more private strategies that I will have to save only for my program participants, because I don't want them getting out too popular. But this is what I do. So there's some people who say direct, book direct for best price on here. It's gray area. It's Airbnb doesn't want you probably to do that. I know some hosts have like pictures with QR codes, and the QR code brings them to the website or the Instagram. So these are things how aggressive you want to go. When I leave reviews for other guests, I also mention my brand name, the Belmonte Penthouse Inn. So if another guest happens to see that, they might come. I just got an inquiry from. Yeah, it's different for me. Well, I mean, just because I have sometimes somebody like iGMS, for example, or someone in the news writes about me. And so I just got an inquiry, hey, we saw you in the news, this and that. And so we're reaching out for that reason. So actually that guess was funny because they were like, they listened to my strategies. And one of my strategy was what I told you all about the airport transit. And so he's like, hey, I know you don't want to, set my expectations by offering me airport transit, but can I do that? I was like, like really? I was like, yeah, actually you get direct transit because you're booking direct, because he reached out to me direct. But I thought that was funny.
Actually, we got a response from Fiona regarding the linen cost.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so linen cost is just for the laundry service, $9 per kilogram, so 2 pounds to wash and return the linen. We use quality linen and wash a top sheet, bottom sheet, 2 pillow slips, and a bath sheet per person. We have maximum of 14 guests at a time, and we only wash quilt covers every 2 weeks unless they are marked. Our linen fee is based on the weight. We are in Australia, so our costs are much higher.
I would look at, in that case, I would look at buying a washer and dryer on site, maybe even an industry one, and seeing if that cuts down on costs. I can't imagine it wouldn't cut down on costs. The only problem is how long it would take. That's why you would buy like an industry one where it just needs one cycle. You can put everything in there. But that I can't imagine if you have your own laundry, there's the upfront cost, but I can't imagine it costs anywhere, $50 maximum for the water and the electricity. So that could be something you might look into, because that would be a competitive edge as well. Because then you could lower your
Cost.
cleaning. Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy. I have so I'm in Philippines right now. I travel around, but I get my laundry done as well. It might be different because you're in STR, but the kilogram cost, I'm doing it here. I think so mine is like 2 kilograms and I pay like $3 in total. So it's like $1.50 per kilogram. It's really interesting when basically just the different costs assigned to different countries where it's the same service. A wash is a wash, a taxi is a taxi is a taxi, but sometimes you get charged, $60 for a 10-minute ride. Sometimes you get charged $6.
Yeah, like in Tbilisi as well. So actually laundromats are not popular here. So they just opened like a couple of years ago because like everyone has like in unit like washer and dryer here.
Yeah.
Not even the dryer. Dryer is like a really high end part. Most of them like dry on the racks outside. So the laundromat is like actually not really cheap. It costs around like $5, and it depends on not how many kilos you bring in. It depends on like which like washer you take. So the bigger one or the smaller one. So it depends on that.
Okay. Yeah. I know some people also charge by the piece.
Yeah, I have heard that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally got my third 5-star review. My FPG seemed to be all last minute bookings. Any recommendations on where to market beyond just hoping I show up on Airbnb?
Well, it's actually it's interesting that most of your bookings are last minute. So the interesting thing about last minute bookings, it's not a winning strategy. But if you're getting last minute bookings, that means your offer is the best. Unless you need to know your booking lead time for your market and your specific listing, assuming it's not 5-10 days, assuming it's 30 days, then you have the best offer. That doesn't mean it's the cheapest, but it's the best offer with your price compared to what you're offering. So I would say maybe your pricing is a little bit out of whack, where it just needs an adjustment. It's too high around your booking lead time and you bring a big discount, or it could be various things. But again, assuming it's out of line with your market, and the booking lead time is so important. That's why we kind of need to know that.
Okay, then actually we have like a general question. So are Airbnb rankings skewed by simply having more listings, therefore making more money for Airbnb?
No, it's on a per listing basis. And remember, you're in your peer group. So if you have a 4-bedroom home and you're making more money for Airbnb, but you're being compared to everyone has a 4-bedroom. That's typically who you're being shown with, but it's on a per listing. Even though the superhost status is on a per account level, the rankings are per listing. There is something to be said with your host account, but the listing is going to be the vast majority of the weight of where you show in listings, and it's so this yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how many times during a year do you think I have to improve my property? It's a beach condo, like paint, small improvements on the wall, on a table, at a bathroom, at a bedroom, at a kitchen, etc.
You should be slowly improving all the time. I wouldn't say like, every 6 months repaint. It might be a thing, probably not 6 months, but there should be like, you should be thinking about this. So I'll give you an example. From my place, I just started providing bubbles for the jacuzzi. It's not anything extraordinary, but it's just one extra small thing that I'm kind of constantly improving. So this was the most recent thing. Another thing was I decided to add flowers, like fresh cut flowers for when people come in. I just recently started adding in a departing gift, like a goodie bag. Instead of a welcoming gift, a goodie bag, a departing gift, so that I get that goodwill when they're about to leave their reservation. So these are just things that, I'm not doing anything big, but these are just things that I'm changing and improving constantly to stay ahead of the market. So there are things like pillows. I've stayed at some disgusting Airbnbs. And I mean that because, you take the pillow cover off and the pillow is like this grayish tint. It's absolutely disgusting. So that's like one edge, one like extreme. You do need to change out linens every now and then. You should be checking to make sure the lights are working. Different things like this. All the amenities should be working. But in addition to that, in terms of your hospitality, your guest experience, slow improvements over time. Look at your competition. Stay with your competition every now and then. But I wouldn't say there's a hard set rule. But it's good that you asked, and it's good that you're keeping it in mind. A most recent addition I'm going to do is for Medellin, where I'm at. It's a very competitive market. The houses are really nice. Luckily, we get to charge a premium as well. But I'm looking at aesthetically. I know that my FPG wants an experience. They're coming, they want to stay in a specific area, which I'm at. I can't change that. I'm at that. And I looked at that before I bought. But they also want to live this like kind of baller lifestyle for a few days. And so they want to come into a nicely designed home, smells good, looks good. So what are some things that I can do to change this? So I recently decided that I'm going to change out all my toilets. They're white. I'm going to change them to black. And I think, I think it's going to look good, better in the pictures, and it's going to be just one extra differentiating factor that separates me from my competition. And it's like one thing I can change. I'm not sure about the cost yet. I just started thinking about this, but it's one thing that I'm going to change that's going to differentiate me. Okay, differentiating, that's key. And visually, it's going to look better in the photos and in person. So the photos and in person, not just in person, like the departing gift, that's just an in-person thing, just a surprise and delight thing. The toilets, if it is visually pleasing, then I expect that to return show a return on investment.
Yep. Then we have a question. What is the biggest difference, specifically difficulties of Booking.com?
Well, the Booking.com takes a 20% commission for everyone. Booking.com also allows the guest to book without like paying. So there's often times where the guest can book without paying and then not show up. So that's a real bummer. There's been sometimes you have to collect the guest payment. That can be a no-go for some people. Additionally, because of the way the payment is collected, sometimes the guest can issue a chargeback on their credit card after they stay, and the credit card will take that money back from you.
Yeah, and also you have to like sometimes like on Airbnb, so they automatically like take the percentage rates, like what they take out of your payout and everything. On Booking.com, they may not take it at your payout date, but then you have to resubmit it like a month after. So you have to
Okay.
pay them back the percentage, and they don't take it actually at that time.
Yep.
And I think Booking.com is like most like complicated like the system
It's
as well.
super complicated.
Yeah, for
It's
our users as well, like setting it up is like a big headache for them
yeah.
because like the setting up the listing itself, it's like a real headache because they have like too much options there that they have to do. Then the verification process takes a long time. So we
Yeah.
had like
Yeah.
one user who was waiting like more than a month to receive the code from Booking.com. Their
Yeah.
support also was not so good from his experience as well. So that's why like most of our users choose like Airbnb and VRBO because like it's really easy for them to set up and like, the support is good and everything like that.
Yeah. Now I will say that and I agree, Airbnb is the most user-friendly. VRBO has good potential. Booking.com is a nightmare for some reason. But that means that there's less competition on there. So if you can get on Book, there's probably, there's less people are signing up for Booking.com because of the reputation it has. So that means that maybe there's less competition for you in your market, and you can, it might be worth it for you going there. Similar to like markets where you're investing in, if there's barriers to get into that market to get an STR license, that's a headache up front. But so many people are not focusing on that you have to research, but that might be actually a benefit, the barriers to entry for this particular market, if you can overcome those barriers.
Okay, then we have how does iGMS provide a way to measure / report on average lead time for booking? Actually, so we do have some of the metrics available on the dashboard. So like what's like lead time actually? So you mean like what time it takes to actually get those bookings and like what like bookings transfer to like inquiries transferred to bookings. So that like type of statistics is available on your dashboard. So you will see like like transmission rates as we call it from like inquiry to a booking and like how many of those like actually transfer to like a real booking. So you can see it on your dashboard. As for, I see another question about that. So like what's the easiest way to measure an average lead time? So actually that average should be there, but as for like a personal measurement, to be honest, I don't have any information about it.
Well, there's two ways. Airbnb provides this. You could go to the Insights dashboard and they provide it. I provide a Google document which allows you to get a little more granular with your booking lead time. It's manual. You input your information, and then based on that information, I provide a booking lead time. Pricelabs provides it. Sounds like iGMS also does provide it.
Okay. Then we have, about longer bookings. So what do you recommend to help capture longer bookings, sites or strategy like 2 weeks or more?
How you would capture longer bookings is you would offer things. So you need longer bookings in the market. Some markets just don't have that. So you would offer things that a longer booker wants: a washer and dryer, desk, parking maybe. And then you'd have to have, similar to any strategy, you'd have to offer the best value. So the best value is not the cheapest price, it's what you're giving the guest versus what you're charging. So longer term bookings want different things. Probably they're going to work there, so Wi-Fi is probably important.
Yeah, actually we noticed like that the Wi-Fi is like a really like a big like player in terms of like getting bookings. So like a really good Wi-Fi like can get you like a much more bookings than you are currently having.
Yeah.
What are your recommendations for monthly rentals? Again, so knowing that some guests would want to host to continue providing toilet paper, water, etc. Is there a value to it when the monthly discount is paying for the people doing the cleaning?
What's the question?
Yeah, actually, I was like lost there as well. So what are your recommendations for monthly rentals, knowing that some guests would want the host to continue providing toilet paper, water, etc. Is there a value to it when the monthly discount is paying for the people doing the cleaning? I don't understand the last part, to be honest. How the
Yeah.
monthly discount can be paying for the cleaning.
I think what they might be saying is, hey, we're giving you a monthly discount, so buy your own toiletries and do your own cleaning,
Oh.
kind of a thing, maybe. And I would say that the question has to do with also, should we replenish consumables, which is
Yep.
toilet paper? That depends on your offer and your FPG. If you're offering something budget, then it wouldn't be required, but it would be a benefit. If you're offering something luxury, then absolutely giving weekly cleaning or giving toiletries would be highly encouraged, probably, for your market.
Yeah, actually, the person that you were referring to, Danny. So actually, one of the hosts actually mentioned is Daniel. Think of Ziona McKinfler and Sarah Weaver, who wrote 30-Day Stay, the book that you
No,
mentioned, I think.
it wasn't them. I know that book, but it wasn't them. I haven't read that book either. But let's see. Yeah, that is a good book. It's published by Bigger Pockets. But like I said, I haven't read it. What is her name? How can I find it? Gosh. Oh, I know how I can find it. Yeah. MTR. Short-term gems, I think. Or was that the name of the show I was on? Rachel, that's her name. Rachel, where is it? Rachel. Yeah, short-term gems. Rachel Gainsborough, something like that. I'll send that link here. Short-term gems. Yeah, so she had me on a podcast where it was like MTR versus STR, and she created this photo of like us in like an MMA tournament. She just like put my head on people's bodies with like all six packs and all this, and all the speakers were on there. And so it was MTR versus STR. I was the only STR person, and everyone else was MTR. It was actually really insightful. It was, but I'll post the link here if anyone's interested. That is, she definitely knew what she was talking about. And say I sent you, just for some goodwill on my end. I don't get anything for that, but be nice for you to do that. Yeah, I recommend them for sure.
How optimum? So I'll continue with the questions. Actually, we have like 6 of them right here, as I see. So how optimal are the standard recommendations that PriceLab sets? So base price, min stay, etc.
How standard are they?
Yeah, so like how optimal are they to like use the standard recommendation that PriceLab gives you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a big confusing point about Price Labs. It doesn't really matter what they recommend you, because you're gonna have to change it. The value that they give you is them applying your customizations automatically to the calendar and applying the whatever your base price is, that affects all of the prices on the calendar. So you're working with the base price, $200, raising it to $225, and then that affects all the calendar prices in the future. That's where the value comes in addition with the customizations. But you will have to change. It's not a set it and forget it feature pricing. You still have to manage it. I go in once a week.
Okay. Also, we have a next question about like the rooms that you mentioned for the photos. So it's not good to put pictures in room boxes.
Correct. And the only way to undo that is to remove all your photos and re-upload them, unfortunately. Bug in the Airbnb system.
Oh. Would Airbnb ban me if I say to guests in your messages we can't discount on Airbnb and only can give a discount when guests book online with us?
No, you wouldn't get banned. If a guest inquires and says, "Hey, we want this kind of a discount," you can say, "Hey, guest, I only offer discounts for direct bookings."
Can you get in trouble with trying to leverage OTAs to direct book with the strategies that you mentioned?
It's kind of a gray area. You can get in trouble depending on how aggressive you go on. I mentioned the QR code in the picture. That you could get in trouble with because you have a URL in your photos, which is not which is not kosher. So you want to be careful with what you're doing. What you can definitely do is like, hey, check us out on YouTube for a walkthrough. For video content, Airbnb doesn't have video content. Hey, we have video walkthroughs on YouTube at this channel name. And then you can sign when you do messages, you can sign your messages, sincerely, the Belmonte Penthouse, something like that. Savvy guests will understand. And you're only trying to cater to those guests who want to book direct. Again, you're not trying to convince a guest to book direct. That's not your job. It's only to present the opportunity, the option to do that.
We have another question. So for the last 2 months, my competitors in Airbnb, they are lowering too much their prices. So I tried different ways to offer 10%, 20% discounts using price strategies, but they keep lowering more price. So then that I can compete with. I get 45% of occupancy now. How can I change this around?
Yeah, my guess is that you're focusing on price and not differentiating. My guess is that you are very similar to your listings, and so you all are competing on price. So I would go back to the drawing board and figure out how you can offer something where the guest isn't looking purely at price. Yeah, price is not a winning strategy to try and be the cheapest.
And the last question is like, what is the advantage/disadvantage of host paying the Airbnb fee versus splitting it with the guest?
Oh, great question.
Mm-hmm.
That's called simplified pricing. And you do not want to do simplified pricing. I have a video on this, which is a visual demonstration of why you don't want to, but I'll try and verbally explain it. If you activate simplified pricing, any two listings with the same final price, that's after taxes and everything, let's say they're both $2,000 final price. But when the guest is actually searching, they're searching by the nightly rate. So if you're doing simplified pricing, your nightly rate might be $550. But if you're not doing simplified pricing, your nightly rate might be $450. So if the guest is on Airbnb, if they're filtering for up to $500, even though you both are at the same price in total, if you're on simplified pricing at $550, you would not show up in that search. $450 you would. So that's very, very bad. You want to avoid doing that if at all possible. There's sometimes you cannot, some tools that you connect to, you have to do simplified pricing. And so there's no option there. It's only bad because it's not applied to everybody. Like if Airbnb applies the rule to everybody, then it's fine. We optimize where we can. But if it's only applied to some people, we'll still optimize. And in this case, it's better to not use it.
Okay, yeah, so that was our last question, actually. So
okay.
Yeah, then maybe you have like any last words, any last recommendations. I think we like touched on like everything, like talked about everything. So
yeah, we definitely did. I hope to see some of you in my program. It's called Optimized Business. You can go onto the website, and right now for July I have a $400 discount.
okay. Yeah. So also like you can see the links that Danny sent like about the Instagram, like the podcast that he mentioned as well. And also everyone, so the recording will be also sent to you. So it will get processed and tomorrow it will be also sent to you. And also like please like check out Danny's channel. So to like revise everything that we talked about today in like more details as well. Okay, so thank you everyone and have a nice day. End it.